Hi everyone, welcome to the Cardiology Technology Info Session. Today's event is going to be presented by Cindy Mazerol, our program head, and Ambreen Sharif, our program advisor. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge that the British Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam. I'm going to hand it over now to Cindy Mazerol, our program head.
Hi everyone, and welcome today. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to give you a sense today of what a cardiology technologist does and go through some of the components of the program so you know what the program is about, how we run, and how the clinicals. So to start, we're just going to do a short poll. What does a cardiology technologist not do?
Still see some answers coming in, but I think we can probably end polling now, and I will share the results, and Cindy can just explain to us what the answer should be if it was worded correctly.
Great. So I think that we had some confusion in the beginning, but cardiology technologists work with all patients of all ages for sure. They do not do cardiac ultrasounds. That is the job of a sonographer. They do get to troubleshoot equipment issues in the hospital. Thank you. We can close that poll off. Because cardiology technologists work with a variety of patients and healthcare professionals, they have to have excellent communication skills and be able to work both with the team, interprofessionally with the team of healthcare workers, as well as work well on their own. Cardiology technologists work with a variety of healthcare professionals, assisting in the diagnosis of heart disease. They do a variety of different tests. One of the tests that is probably electrocardiogram, electrical activity of the heart. Another one of the tests that they do is a Holter monitor that looks at that activity over a longer period of time. And another test that is very common that you may have heard of is the exercise stress testing test, where the patient is monitored by the cardiology technologist and the physician while they're walking on the treadmill. So the program has a variety of different components and has a great deal of flexibility, including the ability to study the theory courses, taking different course loads each term. So you do not have to take a full course load. You can take 5, you can take 2. And it depends on your lifestyle. If you need to work and take 2 courses or 1 course at the same time as you're working. The opportunity is that we do take students in from all areas of the country. So you can study while you're working. You can study on your own from anywhere in Canada. It's called a blended delivery program because it has 3 components to it. The first one is the online theory courses, and the second one is the BCIT lab, which we'll talk about in a moment, and there are 2 clinicals. So the lab session, it happens at BCIT, and it lets you take all of, work with your peers and take all of that information that you learned in the first 2 terms of the program and put it into practice. So it's an excellent opportunity to be in a simulated environment and working with your peers and really applying that theory level course. There are 2 clinical rotations that you will have to do in the program. The first one is a 10-week practicum that occurs right after the lab that I just mentioned, and it takes place in a hospital environment, and so does the second clinical. The second clinical occurs at the very end of the program, and it's 16 weeks in duration. Both are in a hospital environment, and we do our very best to keep you close to home, but there is no guarantee that you will not be relocated. So that's important to know before applying to the program. So there are many different opportunities for employment when you graduate. And so when you graduate from the program and write your national exam, you can work in a variety of different areas. The hospital is probably one of the most common areas that you can work in, but you can also work in labs that do the diagnostic tests that you will learn in the program, cardiac rehab facilities, and medical device companies, which is exciting. Working for a company that sells the equipment that you learn in both your practicum and at work, and that involves teaching other healthcare professionals in your field how to use that equipment. So that is not the end of your opportunities here at BCIT. There are different opportunities to move on to other advanced areas of practice in our program, in our larger program of cardiac sciences. So once you've completed your degree and have a couple years of two years of cardiac experience out there in the field, you can apply to 3 different advanced areas of practice that we offer here at BCIT, and they're listed there on the slide: electrophysiology program, the cardiac rhythm device program, and the cardiovascular program. Another really exciting opportunity that we have an agreement with Thompson Rivers University where you can apply credits from your program, the diploma program that you completed, to the degree program at Thompson Rivers University and finish a degree a lot faster than you would if you began from the beginning, started from the beginning. I think, and I'm going to pass it on to Ambreen. Thank you. And if you have questions, I'm going to check the chat and start answering those there. So Ambreen from Program Advising, thank you very much. And
thanks, Cindy. All right, so just to introduce myself, I'm Ambreen Sharif. I'm a full-time studies advisor, part of a group of advisors that are able to assist you with any questions that you have about entrance requirements, the admissions process, and also we get lots of questions about employment outcomes and laddering options to higher credentials and that sort of thing. So definitely your go-to place if you have questions that you want addressed one-on-one, questions about whether you meet the entrance requirements or your upgrading options to meet the requirements. For instance, we get people contacting us saying, I'm missing a requirement, how do I upgrade? Or I have the following post-secondary course, does it meet the entrance requirements, etc. So just, Julie, next slide. So just to cover the entrance requirements, first off, to look them up, if you go to the BCIT website, bcit.ca, do a search for cardiology technology, you'll pull up the program webpage. And on the left-hand side, click on entrance requirements to view the high school entrance requirements that are listed there. This program follows a competitive entry process, which means that we collect applications up to a deadline date, and then the admissions office will screen for the high school entrance requirements shown and a couple of other documents that are required in the CASPER test. And provided those requirements are met, the department will then review the applications and there's a competitive selection process. So the high school entrance requirements, which some of you might have seen on the website: English 12, 73%, Pre-Calc 12, 67, Anatomy and Physiology 12, which is Biology 12, 67, Chemistry 11, 67, and Physics 11 or 12, 67. Now those are minimum high school entrance requirements. Because it's a competitive selection process, we encourage you to apply with the strongest grades that you can, because grades are definitely a factor in the selection process. We do get applicants with previous post-secondary studies. Doesn't hurt, definitely would strengthen an application, not an absolute requirement. And the other requirements would be the CASPER test, which is a soft skills test done through CASPER. And it assesses your emotional intelligence and your ability to be able to respond in different situations. So that is definitely, your result in the CASPER is factored in, as well as your responses on the mandatory applicant questionnaire, which is a form that will look at your work and volunteer experience, any relevant experience that you have, as well as any relevant post-secondary studies if you have some. Experience in healthcare, in a healthcare environment is considered to be an asset to your application if you have it. So if you have the opportunity to pick that up or to highlight that, we definitely recommend doing that. Okay, Julie, sorry, in terms of, yeah, so I think we've covered all the successful applicant profile. Thanks, Julie. The application timelines. So the program generally has 2 intakes a year, a September intake and a January intake. And there's a specific application window. For September, it's between January 2nd and April 30th. And for the January intake, between July 15th and October 1st. We do encourage you to submit your application early, but the applications are not actually reviewed until after the deadline date. So you can continue to upload any additional documents you have, provided you let the admissions office know that you've done that. And obviously you want to put your strongest application forward. It's not first come, first served, and the earlier you apply, the better. Qualities to be successful in the program: strong communication skills, the ability to work independently in a team, excellent physical, mental health, and time and stress management skills, strong decision-making and problem-solving skills, computer literacy, and the affinity for technology. Maybe if Cindy has anything to add to that.
I think you covered it.
Okay, great. Julie, next one. So for the application process at BCIT, we have a fully online application process now, so we don't actually ask you to submit hard copy documents or to send them by mail. So the first step, of course, is to review the entrance requirements and the application processing dates on the website. Upgrade, if necessary, contact program advising to discuss how you can strengthen your application. And we'll get to our services and contact information in a bit. Collecting your documents. And so basically what you do is under the entrance requirements on the program website, if you scroll down, there's an apply now blue link. So you click on the link, that's how you apply online, follow the prompts, and then you scan and attach all of your supporting documents, which would be your high school transcripts, if you have any post-secondary ones, Casper test results and mandatory applicant questionnaire as PDF files with your online application. That goes to admissions, and then the admissions office will get back to you within a few weeks through your My BCIT email account, which is a link that's found on the top of the BCIT website. And I think that covers that. Julie, next slide. So this slide speaks to the student services that we have at BCIT, which attempt to provide services to you that support you on many different levels, not just academically, but in a lot of different ways, physically, emotionally, so not just with the academics. Julie, next slide. Some of the services, for instance, we have a counseling services at BCIT. All of our students that are in our programs have access to counseling services. And to a fitness facility on campus. We have a financial aid and awards office, bcit.ca/finaid, FINAID, to read about the provincial student loans and other entrance awards and bursaries that are available to students. And you can actually contact financial aid, so the financial aid officer, to make an appointment to speak with them directly. For accessibility services, if you have any specific challenges, you can contact our accessibility services and they will liaise on your behalf with the program area to make some accommodations. So just to give you a couple of examples, our student life office is an office that we set up to support students in their well-being throughout their studies at BCIT. We also have a student association, of course, that provides a lot of different services and supports to students throughout their academic career at BCIT. All right, Julie? So for program advising services, we offer a telephone advising service, a live telephone advising service throughout the week, Monday and Friday between 10 and 12 p.m., and Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday between 1 and 3:30 p.m. So you're welcome to contact us, and you'll be put straight through to myself or to one of my colleagues, and we're happy to address any specific questions that you have. For email, you can email us at program_advising@bcit.ca, so feel free to do that. You can also request a Zoom appointment, a one-on-one Zoom, and we set those up with you so that we can walk you through some things online as well. Okay, and I think that's about it. We have some links to social media just to learn more about BCIT, about the BCIT experience and services. And then now we're moving on into the question and answer session, and the faculty will be addressing your questions. Thanks.
I see most of the questions have been answered or redirected. There is one, okay, Cindy just responded to that one. Does anybody else have any questions or feedback or thoughts about the program at all? Feel free to post that now. We'll give it a minute. Here we go. Does a post-secondary grade override a high school grade? For example, if you got an A in your first year English, but a lower grade in high school English.
And I can answer that question. So they don't override. The minimum entrance requirement is a high school diploma, and where you do score extra points is on the mandatory questionnaire. If you do have post-secondary experience, then you will be looked at. If it's in a health-related field, you will gain extra points.
We have a question here from someone saying, if I'm doing part-time 2 or 3 classes, do I still apply for a regular intake, even if I'm guessing she said classmates, but I'm thinking she's thinking class schedule maybe full-time?
Yes, everybody should apply through admissions to the program. We do have an option for people to try out courses, and it's a maximum of 3 courses without applying to the program. But even if you want to do it part-time, you want to be accepted into the program as an applicant.
So sorry, Julie, can I add something? So I just wanted to say that add to what Cindy said is that from an admissions perspective, the admissions office will take post-secondary courses to cover off those requirements. But you need to have the same required minimum grade. So say you were using like a post-secondary English, humanities, or social sciences to cover the English 12 requirement, you'd still have to have the B or higher in it. So we won't take like a lower grade in place of it. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, there was a time when admissions would take a lower grade in a higher level course, but then they standardized it and they said, well, regardless of whether you're applying with high school or post-secondary, you need to have the same grade. That's shown.
Everybody said yes, that makes sense. We have a question about Casper. My understanding is Casper will submit the results directly to BCIT automatically, or do the students do process?
That's correct. Correct. Casper does submit the results automatically to the program department area.
We have another question. We have lots of questions all of a sudden. This is great. Just to clarify, it is best to apply early, for example, in July for the winter intake, even if you are in the process of upgrading a course.
So there's no penalty for applying right up to the end of the admissions date. So applying early, doesn't allow you to gain extra points or to be looked at in a more favorable way.
Okay. Do I have to have healthcare experience to be competitive?
Healthcare experience, especially in, there's some questions on the mandatory questionnaire that ask for volunteer and work experience. And if you have experience in the healthcare field, and it doesn't have to be direct patient care, but if you do, that definitely puts you at advantage.
Excellent. Thank you, Cindy. Can I update my application after I submit it if I'm still upgrading a course?
As long as it's done before the application deadline.
And I would strongly suggest emailing the admissions office, because they don't have like an automatic alert to let them know you've put additional documents in. So I would suggest, if you do upload additional documents or an upgrade, email admissions at bcit.ca to let them know that you've put some additional documents online.
We have a question. How about IELTS instead of English 12? How about it, Ambry?
So yes, yeah. So IELTS is accepted. In fact, it's required. One of those tests with the speaking and listening components are required if your previous education, if you don't have 2 or more years in Canada or in a country that BCIT lists as having English as a primary language. So it definitely would be an acceptable test to cover off the English requirement. And like I said, for some, it would be required. And it would depend on your grade. So if you go to the link that says, what if I don't meet the English requirements, under the English 12 requirement on the program website, it will take you to a list of all the acceptable tests to cover the requirement. IELTS is one of them, and it'll show you the minimum overall score that you would need to meet that 73% minimum. The higher, of course, the better. Yeah, for this program.
Do you accept BC national student loans? If we are accepted for the January intake, get notified in October, is there a grace period for the student loans to be processed?
Ambry, do you know the answer to that?
So my understanding is that if you had a full course load, meaning I think that by the provincial student loans, that's defined as 3 courses per term. My understanding is that if you have a full course load, you can apply for that provincial student loan. It's processed after you've been accepted to the program, so that's when you would apply for it. I definitely would encourage you to contact the financial aid office, because this is an unusual program. It's part-time. It's sort of part-time self-paced, but it's still very possible to have that full course load. So I would suggest that you touch base with the financial aid office just to confirm, but I'm pretty certain that if you had a full course load, you could apply for that provincial student loan. I don't know if that answers your question about, I don't know the exact timelines. I know that would be done after you've been accepted. Yeah.
We had a good question, a couple of good ones. Are there seats reserved for First Nation students like some other schools?
Not at this time, unfortunately, but we are working towards getting reserved seats in different areas.
Thank you, Cindy. And we have, would you be able to do more than 3 classes in the program if you have applied but not yet been accepted?
The 3 classes is the maximum. The only way that you're allowed to do more than 3 classes is if you are doing them, you're already working in the medical field and you're doing them for continuing education credits.
Okay. Would it help my application if I included a reference letter from a healthcare professional that I worked with?
Reference letters are not part of the application process, so no.
Okay. It was mentioned that we upload our own transcripts instead of mailing. What happens if we will be getting our transcript from a previous college? Can they send directly to BCIT, or is it better to get them and upload ourselves?
So I would definitely say it's better to upload it yourself, because it keeps everything together, and that simplifies the admission process a lot. It prevents any wastage of time from things being lost. So I would definitely say scan and attach all your documents yourself as PDF files. Have those official transcripts sent to you.
Okay, I think that covers all of our questions. So I'm just going to put up our next slide. For more information, if anybody has any questions, you can contact Program Advising, and here's the email address. We will be sending an email to everyone that is registered for this session, a copy of the slide deck, and that's it. You'll get the slide deck in an email. Okay, so if you can review it, you can look at it, you can contact us. We thank you all for your time in attending, and I'd like to thank Cindy for her wonderful presentation, and Ambreen for coming over from Program Advising and giving us her expertise on advising matters, and Erin and Darren who help with our technical support for these events. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you.